This is Brother Barnes. Welcome back. We're going to talk about some vertebral features for a few minutes. I'm going to quickly move through the names of these features and then afterward give some anatomical and clinical notes. Remember that the answers are in a clickable, downloadable link below the video. Number one, these are the vertebral foramina. Number two and number four, these are transverse processes. Number three, these are vertebral bodies. Number five, this is a cervical foramen. Six is an atlas lateral mass. Seven is the dens or odontoid of the C2 or axis vertebra, however you would like to call that. And then eight, these are spinous processes which project posteriorward. As a chiropractor by trade, these vertebrae are very important to me. I just adjusted the C2 vertebra on a patient today. Let's talk about clinical significance. One, the vertebral foramina are important because that is where the spinal cord travels down the center of the vertebrae. The transverse processes 2 and 4 and also the spinous processes 8 are muscle attachment sites which allow your body to move this flexible bendable rod that we have, the spinal column. It's quite amazing. Number 5, this is a cervical foramen. Remember that cervical bones have this in their transverse process. That's how we would distinguish cervicals from thoracics and then from lumbars. Why is this important? The vertebral arteries ascend through this flexible tube, once again interesting, to the brain, and along with the internal carotid arteries go to the circle of Willis to give the brain its blood supply. The atlas lateral masses are very unique and interesting because the atlas does not have a central weight-bearing structure. Why? Because the odontoid of the C2 projects into this area. There's a ligament that holds this in place to allow for rotation between the atlantoaxial articulation. Now notice that the occipital condyles would articulate with these lateral masses to give a nodding yes ability between the let's rephrase that, the occipito-atlanto articulation, the atlanto-occipital articulation, probably however you want to say that might be kind of nice. Kind of sounds better, atlanto-occipital, doesn't it? Atlantoaxial. Occipito-atlanto. Okay, we will have to think about that one for maybe just a few minutes. Notice that the vertebral bodies become larger as we extend down the spine. I'm thinking that this is a thoracic vertebra, the way that that spinous is shingled downward so sharply. Remember that the superior articular facets and the inferior articular facets are what make synovial joints between these vertebrae, and oftentimes these can be tender to the touch. You can also have tenderness on the spinous or on the transverses, which indicate possible dysfunction between segments. If the vertebrae are functioning properly, we are quite the smooth running machine, aren't we? But if the vertebrae are in crisis or inflamed or arthritic, and there are probably other things that we could mention, if that happens, then one can be miserable with spinal problems. Anyhow, I wish you well. This is Brother Barnes. This is Dr. Barnes. We'll probably come back and revisit the vertebrae later and consider some more things about the vertebrae.